Uniqueness is your superpower. After a successful but unfulfilling career in tech, I set off to uncover what makes people successful and satisfied. I discovered the systems of astrology and human design, studied and applied them for years, and exchanged my 9 to 5 for the entrepreneur's adventure. Now I share insight from the cosmic cutting edge. This podcast is for ambitious people ready to use their unique genius to create wealth, positive impact, and personal fulfillment. We'll talk personal branding, business, and leadership. Time to be courageous and seen. Let's reach for the stars. Hello, and welcome back to the Cosmic Queen podcast. I have an incredible special guest today, and I cannot wait because we are diving into a very kind of cool, niche, unique topic related to human design. We're going to be talking about what the heck it means to live as a 2-5. But before we dive into all that, I want to introduce Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Welcome.
Thank you. So excited to do this.
I know, finally we made it happen. I'm so excited that we get to have this conversation. It's gonna be so good. And everyone else gets to eavesdrop on it. So I have to introduce Kelly Keefe to you all. Kelly Keefe is an Aquarian age thought leader, founder of the Heartspace, and international best-selling author, where she supports leaders, entrepreneurs, and spiritual seekers to elevate their highest alignment. With 20,000 hours of study, practice, and teaching under her belt, she is a catalyst for transformation, empowerment, and purpose for those who enter her energetic field. As a Reiki master teacher and subconscious mind expert, she supports people to live from their heart space, resulting in ease, grace, and destiny. The author of Rise Above Fear, Kelly specializes in supporting female leaders and getting clear on their destiny, clearing the blocks, rising above fear, and creating the life they deserve to have. Mic drop queen. Yes. I always feel like podcasts, we should have like intro walk-on music, like for our guests, like, yes, that just deserves some walk-on music. So welcome, Kelly. So happy to have you here. I just can't wait to dive into this topic. And I wanted to give some really quick like context setting for everyone.
Yeah.
We are talking about the profile lines in human design today, but we're specifically talking about one profile in particular, which is the 2-5. Kelly and I are both 2-5s, and it's a rare profile, is my understanding. When I first found out I was a 2-5, I was getting a reading from another 2-5, and he said, it's incredibly rare. You never meet people who are 2-5s, and it carries a lot of very unique aspects to it. And he was correct. Like, since then, I've gone on to study human design, and become an expert in it. And yeah, I never meet 2-5s, very rarely. I think I could count on one hand, maybe 3 people in my life, including Kelly, that I have met with this profile. I know also Adele is one famous person that I know of who has this profile as well. The singer Adele, English singer, incredible. But I want to dive into what it means. And I think anyone listening who is a 2-line, who is a 5-line, or who knows someone who's a 2-5 will get so much out of this, understanding what it is like to really live and embody and embrace and be empowered through your profile lines. So Kelly, what, I guess before we dive deeper into them, like, what do you think about 2-5? Like, off the top of your head, what are your kind of experiences, since you've learned about human design? What have they been? Has it been positive, negative? What's the vibe?
I think like for me, learning human design, like
Uh-huh.
being able to like understand my chart a bit more and like having reflected back to me, like this is who I am.
Yeah.
Not to limit myself and put myself into a box, especially as I'm a projector 2-5 for people who are listening. So I've done a lot of like rewiring of some of the boxes that we can get put into, like as a projector, of like the waiting for invitation of what does that really
Yeah.
mean? Just like sit in a house waiting, but like being able to see the space of things like reflected back where I was like, oh my God, this is who I am. And it was so healing to be able to see like there's nothing wrong with me. The way that I interact with different things and the way I'm navigating the world that was so positive and healing, because it's just like,
Mhm.
oh snap, like this is literally just my design. This is
Mhm.
how I navigate this human experience this time.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
the actual day to day, I've learned, and I'm always balancing it, but it can feel a bit like an internal conflict because,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you'll share more,
Yes.
there's a space of my conscious where I'm just like, I'm so good by myself, just doing my thing. Like, I don't need nobody in this moment. I just want to be alone,
Mhm.
hanging out, going deep into my stuff. But
Yes.
then at the same time, there's people who are just like, please be around me all the time. Magnetic, magnetic, magnetic,
Yes.
magnetic. So it's an interesting dance to balance.
It's a really interesting combination. Like I love to, teach and about and observe people who have all of the different profile combinations, but I think the 2-5 especially just carries a lot. Like there is there's a lot that the 2-5 has that is very interesting. And I loved earlier you use the word unicorn to describe us. I like the word weirdo, but I think both of them work. We're unicorn weirdos. It's so interesting. Like when I learned about the 2-5, it for me, it really made sense, and we're gonna explain exactly what we mean by that, but it just made sense. So I highly recommend anyone to go and learn your human design profile lines. They very much the way I would describe it, and you can share how you would describe the lines as well. But how I would describe it is, it represents like your inner drives and kind of these themes of your personality and how you present yourself in the world, how you do life. So to me, it's kind of similar to the nodes in astrology in some ways. There's a lot of growth that happens through the kind of the shadow side or the low expression of the profile lines. But then there's so much success and opportunity and leadership that happens through the high expression. So if you know astrology and you kind of know the nodes, I feel like it's a similar energy. There's something about destiny, something about purpose, something about, the way we do things when it comes to the profile lines. How would you agree with that?
Yeah. It's just so funny to watch like my soul light up. It's like how much I love the word destiny. Like when you said it, like I couldn't even help it. I noticed I was just like my body just lit up, and I made like a little sound. Like I just love, like we're in such an exciting time of the collective where it's just like, yo, like stepping into our destiny frequency and living this, like it's
Yeah.
so potent and
Yes.
here, and I find that's like, and I've studied human design enough to know myself, and I can like pull up my, clients I work with for a lay of the land. And by
Mhm.
no means have I gone as deep as you. That's where I love the collaborative forces of like, cool, so this is my thing. And then like, this is what I know enough to be dangerous, and pass it to someone who can go deeper in it and like
Mhm.
co-create in those ways to support people.
Mhm.
Like for me, going into the five lines is just like, I think of each of them as like little personalities. Like
Yeah.
they're just highlighting the quirks of
Mhm.
who we are. And it's just like, it makes life easier in
Yeah.
some ways. Like we're still gonna have challenges, y'all. Like we're human. Like welcome to the transition of the Aquarian
First
age,
school.
But
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, but it's a little bit of like a cheat code in some ways is how I look at it. It's like, look, we can just see like if you tune more in to these ways, like
Mhm.
let's use 2-5, right? So
Yeah.
2 for those who are listening is the hermit, and
Mhm.
then 5 is the heretic. And so both lines have a stronger projection field within them, an inner projection field and then an outer. So we just get a whole lot of projections on ourselves all the time of people thinking that we can be the best and most outstanding thing for this or that. And it's very easy to fall from grace for people if
Mhm.
because they are holding this high projection field of us
Yes.
and the 5. And then on the hermit side, it's the space of being easy to just be alone and want to be with ourselves and being able to go deep into a study of something and play and do the things. And when I started to look at that more, it was just like, oh, cool. Well, if I just use these, if I know this is it makes me living my destiny and being able to communicate my dreams to the people that I love easier. Like with my partner, as soon as we
Mhm.
started dating, I said, so listen, and he's not in human design. We've done this now and like we do the thing. Oh, you also have a 5 line. Great. This is going to work. We can talk about this in time. But I said, listen, it's a part of who I am. I go into hermit mode. And when I go into my cave, no one else can take me out of my cave until I'm ready to come out of my cave. And I
Mhm.
need downtime and I need time, So it's allowed me to express my boundaries so I
Mhm.
can have nourishing relationships with
Mm.
my team that works with me, with my partner, with family, and then also being able to know when I can feel a projection upon me, is that
Mhm.
being able to either not take it personal, or if
Yeah.
I feel I need to address it, be able to communicate it. So it just creates more harmony. Now, like with a
Mm.
client, be like, oh, cool. So like you're an investigator and you're this, like, cool. Like, so do you do the death? Like, yeah, I do that. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's who you are. So how do we use that to strengthen your mission? Because if you just stay in alignment with who you are, it's your thrive. It's a cheat code to thrive.
Exactly. That's so good. I think human design absolutely, as you say, gives us the language to explain or communicate what our needs are. Let's dive into the each line separately and then talk about them together. So the two line being the hermit, as you said, that's the kind of original human design lingo. And then some people like to also call it the natural. So there's like quantum human design, which Karen Curry Parker created, that has its own language, and then other language as well in human design. But yeah, it's the hermit. And then you could also think of it as the natural. And I like the natural as well because it emphasizes this very magical aspect of the two line, which is that often people who are two lines have lots of talents, lots of different interests, lots of different things that they are good at, lots of gifts. Often in school, they can be really good at school. It can be something that kind of comes easily to them. They don't have to work as hard, maybe as other students, because they just kind of excel. And it's that's not always true. This is a generalization, but it's because they're very kind of quick and they're very interested in learning lots of things, and they have all these different skills. And so often two lines, this is a wonderful thing about two lines, but often they can sometimes struggle with knowing what it is that they're good at. Can you identify with that? Like having a lot of skills, but also having a path in your life where you're like, I don't know what my thing is. Like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah, girl, it's so good. And I love that. Is the naturalist is part of quantum human design?
I can't actually remember if that's specifically the Karen Curry Parker lingo,
Okay,
but I've heard the natural as
cool.
well as the hermit being used.
Cool. I'm gonna go on a rabbit hole with that later. That's
Okay,
scary.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely, I mean, I'm multidimensional, and that's how I've just come to accept what it is. But yeah, I'm always in so many different projects, and over the years, I've been honing in on focus, follow one course until success. But people say to me all the time, they're like, you do everything. And why are you good at so many different things, whether
Uh-huh.
it's the comedy or the music or the writing and then the business and wanting to, yeah, it is. Or it's just like, I'm just naturally good at stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not like an ego thing. It's like it
Oh,
is. It is.
yeah.
Like every person I know that's a conscious two line is like this. And knowing that, I think is so much permission to follow your interests instead of forcing people into niches that, they get bored with after a certain amount of time or, but what about this and what about this, right? Mm.
Totally. And that's especially the space of I've learned to channel it into, and I think there's an opportunity for like of leadership where it is that space like, okay, cool. I truly believe we were made by design. The fact that human design works greatly, but like when we were created, creator made us by design to be exactly who we need to
Mhm.
be able to fulfill whatever destiny and mission we have this lifetime.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, if I was made by design to naturally be able to do these things, use it in leadership. Like, no, like, okay, I'm naturally good at leading a team or seeing this and building a business.
Mhm.
Use it. Bring it together a team and build something epic or help other people build a six-figure business. Like just use it. If I'm good at
Yeah.
it, I might as well use it and play in the spaces, which I think, is another, and you probably know better of your studies, like the elevated expression of it, the
Yes.
higher expression of the gift.
Mhm.
We can be like lost in the I have so many things, I don't know what to do, or
Yes.
being like, I'm so good at so many things. Let me actually use these to, you know, be a powerful leader in the very
Absolutely.
niche.
I mean, on one hand, so it can sometimes be a double-edged sword. I feel like all
Okay.
the profile lines have their own double-edged sword. Like the double-edged sword with the second line is you're good with lots of things, but then on the flip side, you can actually get, and I don't think this is your issue at all, but but there's a tendency for anyone listening with the second line to kind of like not put in enough effort because things come easily. And so we have to remember as second lines that if there is something that we're passionate about, first of all, not everything has to be a business. But secondly, if there's something that we're really passionate about, it's worth putting the extra effort in and becoming a master, becoming a master of that thing. Like, for example, I'll use myself as an example here. So I worked in tech for like, 7, 8 years as a management consultant. I was really good at it, but I didn't love it. And I think this often happens with people who are two lines is they can be very good at things and then they keep doing it because they keep getting validation from people and they keep getting the praise, which helps us as two lines to find our path. It's helpful to get people's opinions and to get their validation, to get their praise and to get the compliments because it helps us figure out, what are we good at? What are we good at? But then we can go too far. And this is the double-edged sword of kind of just doing what everyone else thinks we should do instead of doing what we're truly passionate about and what we were just born to do because we love it as well. It's like in Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, it's like the difference between the zone of excellence and the zone of genius. And I think people with two lines have a lot of genius, but they can fall into the trap of only being in excellence. And so you want to find your genius. That's such a big thing with the two line. They want it, but finding it is absolutely a journey and can have a lot of challenges along the way. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah. And it brings me to like connecting a piece. I'm curious of like with that 5 too, especially the space of like people seeing, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is what you're good at. And so like inviting us to be in a thing and like that projection into like, okay, so you're going to be this and that. I've had that numerous times where I get involved in something and then next thing I know, they're like, cool, well, like the next step is we'll offer you a role in this job. And I'm just like, whoa, I don't want that. You're like I don't
Actually,
want that at
no.
all. Like I'm good at this because you asked me to help you with, XYZ or help with
Yeah.
doing this. And I was like, oh, I could use a little side thing, but about, and like then being offered a new job, and I'm just like, whoa, like, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious of the combination through your lens of the 2 and the 5, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so people can see our, the
Yes.
excellence maybe, and then like they project onto that's who we are and who we're
Yes.
here to be, and starts to
Mm-hmm.
sway us. Like, I'm curious, like,
So it's an interesting one because if we take the two line by itself, the projection field for the two line means that other people see you more clearly than you see yourself. So the two line projection field on its own is more of, there's always this analogy of the house. If you learn human design, you've probably heard about this, where the two line person is in their room of the house and they're painting and they're just doing their thing. Then a crowd or a parade goes by outside, looks in the window and is like, oh my God, that's amazing. You're so talented. You're so genius. You should sell those paintings. And that's an example of a positive projection, right? Of where it's like, yes, oh my God, thank you. I never realized that I had this genius. I never realized that I had this skill. That's happened to me many times. It's happened to me with astrology and human design. I was doing it as a hobby. I had a coach who said, you're really good at this. You should include this in your business. And I was like, you're right. And I never saw myself. Like I didn't get it. I couldn't see myself. So there's this like kind of outward projection where you struggle to see yourself, but other people can see you clearly. The fifth line projection field is completely different, but related. With the fifth line projection, it's where people are not seeing you clearly, where they are literally, it's kind of what colloquially and normal speak, we would say, oh, they're projecting on me, right? It's where they don't see you clearly. So they see you through kind of a veil. And because they can't see you clearly through that veil or through those curtains, then they make stuff up. And so, so they're like, well, I can't see Rachel clearly, so I just am going to make something up. So, I've had people tell me that I'm, like really warm and nurturing. I've also had people tell me that I'm aggressive. So how are both of those things true? I don't know. And the thing with the fifth line projection field is that people will take an idea or a feeling they have about you, which may or may not be true, and they will just run with it. That can be
Mm.
positive, like they're putting you on a pedestal for something, or it can be negative. They're burning you at the stake for something. That's a challenge that people with a 5 have to deal with. And one of the most famous examples is, of course, Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift is a 5-1. And so her 5 line, we always use an example in human design of like people kind of wanting to burn her at the stake or put her on the pedestal constantly. Right? It's either, she's the problem, right? I'm the problem, it's me, or she's the solution to all of the world's problems. So it's like which one? That's the 5 projection field. People will either kind of make you almost like a deity, a cult leader figure, or they want to burn you. So dealing with both of those projections at the same time, to kind of come back to your original thought and
Yeah.
question, is absolutely very challenging, because on one hand, you may struggle, especially early on in, life and career, to see what your gifts are. And then on the other hand, people are misunderstanding you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Have
Yeah.
you experienced that?
Yeah. And it's so interesting as someone who, devotes my life to service and supporting others and rising this and that, but it's, you know, really remembering and studying leadership for the Aquarian age of how we've done things
Hmm.
is different here, where it is we're all equal. We all just have different gifts and different pieces of the
Yes.
puzzle and to balance. And so it's interesting to watch that space when I can feel a student, putting that pedestal where it's just like, a healer is someone who's just healed themselves
Yeah.
and can support somebody else in healing themselves. And
Hmm.
so like I can see when I can feel now that I'm more aware of it
Hmm.
through spaces where there is that pedestal thing where me being like, I'm still human, y'all.
Yeah.
I may be superhuman. I'm a superhuman, but I'm also superhuman, and like just wanting to like diffuse that where I can. And
Hmm.
also now starting to not take it so personal when
Yes.
I can see, wow, maybe someone did have this projection of me and I didn't meet the storyline that they had. So I became this evil person,
Hmm.
and it hurts, especially somewhere where I know who I am. I know how pure my intentions are and how I move through the world. So it
Hmm.
hurts and I'll
Hmm.
cry and I grieve. And it's a feeling of being misunderstood when your
Yes.
intentions are so pure. It's
Hmm.
hard. But
Hmm.
also remembering, like, okay, as leaders and as we're putting things out there, no matter what your lines are, there's going to be times where you don't meet people's expectations or their ambition, and because of whatever it is, you may become the villain in their story. And
Yep.
that's something that we have to make peace with.
Hmm.
And bringing in, again, my design, where it's just like, oh, my soul signed up for this. It's also part of what I'm here to do and understand, where it's like I can't take it personal. The more I can just know who I am, which it's the interesting spot where having to have trusted people around who
Yes.
see the best version of me and can
Hmm.
pull that out of me and ask the right questions, this and that, to keep me in that space of like, at the end of the day, when the world is put away, I have my people that I
Yes.
can be fully me and come back to. I know who I am at my core. I
Hmm.
know my intentions are pure. I know my direction and stay in that alignment. I think has been like the biggest growth of realizing like it's been challenging with it, but I'm alchemicalizing it into actually it's like, oh, this is a superpower.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With the 5th line, we've talked about the second line and the projection fields. With the 5th line, it is as you said earlier, the heretic. And everything that you just said is so important, to do that inner work around having a tight, trustworthy, loyal inner circle that truly wants the best for you. Because as a 5th line, anyone with a 5, it carries a frequency of fame. And if that's something that you want, I want, anyone listening wants, then that's absolutely available. And it's even kind of, dare I say, maybe part of the path of the 5th line as well as being known. What's your relationship with being known and that word fame. How do you feel about it as a subconscious fifth line? I'm curious.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I was just talking with my partner about this the other day,
Mm.
where there is a knowing that that is a part of the destiny and the plan
Yep.
lifetime,
Yep.
where it's one of those, you know, it's an internal battle, where it's
Yeah.
okay, I'm aware that that's also, it's a part of my job description. That's kind of how I like to look at things, of like
Yeah.
being a conscious creator of my life and tuning into my soul mission. What am I here to do? It still comes with a job description. It's a
Hmm.
dope job description and roles and responsibilities because it's my soul in the full expression, but there's still roles and responsibilities to the job that my soul picked this lifetime.
Hmm.
And a part of my roles and responsibility is to be in a place with a lot of attention being put on me to share what God wants to use me for to support the highest good. And so, being someone that I love privacy, I'm so good living like a simple life, doing the things.
Hmm.
Well, also give me, a microphone and a stage and I can have a good time. I'm an
Yeah.
entertainer by nature
Oh,
too.
yes.
But
Same.
yeah, it's an internal battle. It's an accepting of, it's a part of what I'm here to do. And
Hmm.
it's a gift that I
Hmm.
have been given because there's something that God needs to use me for.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, but I could be good without it. So, and I can feel it continues to grow and it's, continuing to arrive more and more, not
Hmm.
forcing,
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I don't like fame. It's a it is what it is. If you're well known, there's a level of fame. Like I don't have a desire to be like a celebrity status, like play in that world. But
Hmm.
I'm at peace of knowing, like, yeah, like my work I feel is gonna be common to people, and just it brings me peace of like, I know what God's moving through me and I watch lives change.
Yeah.
Like if
Yes.
I can have more people know the work I do, it's not so much about knowing me. It's if they
Hmm.
can know the work that's identified with me because of my channel. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's my happy medium right now. Like, how can
Okay.
I
Yeah.
do
No,
this in
I
a
get that.
way that, like, okay, I'm fulfilling the mission. I'll take the role responsibility. I'll find fun with it along the way.
Hmm.
But for me, it's more of a, I'm going to make the best of it because I know it's part of my job,
Yeah.
but I'm not seeking fame.
Did you know though, like when you were a kid, that you could be famous?
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like more extreme than you, I think. I like wanted to be famous when I was a kid and now. Like I I don't apologize. Like I'm like, yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
yeah.
Because I just knew, like it was like this knowing of like, yeah, I'm going to be someone who's known. And I want it to be obviously for good reasons. And I want it to, just like you, be for my work. I think that's a second line thing. We like being really proud of our work, and like it's very important to us to be known for our work. But I do think the fifth line is fifth lining. I think that like we realize that there's a power in attention. And, since being a kid, I've always been someone, no matter how shy I was, no matter how much I didn't think I deserved it, no matter how much I struggled with self-worth and self-love, like I would attract attention. And that's a very five-line thing, and two as well. And so, yes, I'm similar to you. I'm a natural entertainer. I always love to like, I'm a showgirl, I like to say, at heart. And I think the journey of like embracing that and not hiding has been like a big part of my story. And that's, I think, why I'm essentially at the heart of it, an identity and a confidence coach when I look at it. Like I help people with business, I help people with branding, I help people, with energy, with motherhood, all these things. But I think the heart of it is like identity and confidence, because those are the things I've had to learn, because like you said, that's what my soul chose in this lifetime. It was like, all right, we're going to be seen. Now, what's all the baggage that comes along with that? Let's start that out age 8. Like, let's get let's get into it. Like, let's go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so fun of looking at, like, we are who we are from the day we're born.
Yeah.
And of course that means we can grow and evolve as our own beings and our own
Mm.
inner work. But when we look at the true essence, like I was at 6 years old, I was coloring. I kid you not, kindergarten, coloring. I had a joke download into my system. And me being me, it wasn't let me turn to Timmy next to me and tell the joke. It was, I have a joke. I must tell the entire school. So I went to the guidance counselor and I said, I have a joke. I want to tell the entire school.
Uh-huh.
And so that next Friday, they do like Friday special and a couple students could share things. And they were like, okay, this week, first time we've ever had a kindergartner do this, but we have Kelly Keefe and she has a joke and she would like to tell the school. And so at 6 years old, I had my first stand-up comedy performance to a couple hundred people.
That's
Like it's like
amazing.
you are who you are from the day you're born.
You are who you are. It's like, don't fight it, just embrace it,
Yes.
Actually, on that topic, I wanted to ask you really quickly about, so with the fifth line, there's a low expression of the fifth line where people do hide. And in my studies of human design, I had a teacher named Teo who was wonderful, and he said that there's this beigifying thing that happens. Is that sometimes, and it's funny because we are literally both wearing like neutrals right now. We're both wearing beige, but it's more of a, it's not the color, it's the idea where you kind of, fifth line people who are not comfortable being perceived and being seen will try to like beigify themselves so that people don't notice them. And they're like, oh my God, please don't ask me for things. Please don't invite me to be the hero again. Like, don't put me on a pedestal. Don't burn me at the stake. Like, I just want to hide. Is that something that you've ever struggled with or thought about or
Yeah.
observed?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's a big part of growing through the journey. I would look at things that we teach is so much of what we've grown through,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And so there's levels, and I have a woman working with me now that we were friends doing the thing in New York in 2016, 2017, 2018. And she's like, Kelly, to see how much you've grown and you're actually doing it, and like to see like your presence is like now she's coming on the team to help build it. She's
Yeah.
like, it's amazing to see how much you've actually stepped in to who you are and like what you're here to do and making it known.
Yeah.
And then there's spaces where I'm working on a larger scale project with a group now and realize that that natural tendency of just being good at things and leadership and but let's get this project done,
Mhm,
cut this
mhm.
deal. And I realized where I was just like, let me just take a step back for a moment. One was just wanting to read the group. There's just wisdom there, but there's also a piece of that Beijing, as you're calling it. Then they invited me back in Projector, so like bringing all these pieces of being like, we've noticed that that's not present right now. And like, and we're
Mhm.
telling like, we want that, we need that. That is going to support in bringing this forward. And I was
Mhm.
just like, okay, cool. Now that I've gotten clear that that's wanted with everyone, I'll step back in of making it be
Mm,
seen and
yes.
directing a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all the time still, it doesn't. The work doesn't end. Every
No.
level that there's another level of being seen
Mhm.
and bigger opportunities and preparing for the book launch and this and that. Like there's parts of it I'm just so like, of course, I want ultimate success with this. I want this novel to be read by people in it, support and things changing in the world and us doing the book signings at the major bookstore. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
be epic. And there's also parts of me that are it's just like, holy fuck, like what actually happens if this thing
Yeah.
actually takes off? I think that's
Mhm.
the biggest thing is that still comes up for me is what happens when this actually pops off?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because and it's really cool we're having this conversation. So, a couple years from now, we'll be able to look back on this podcast and we'll do a part two. Because, you have a certain level of fame and being known now. I have a certain level, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what it's really like when you have millions of eyeballs, right? Because that's a whole other level of projection that's going to happen that we haven't even experienced yet. And that's going to be fun. So we get to revisit this conversation. I will play this clip and we'll talk about what we've learned from that vantage point. But I think that, for anyone listening who wants to have an impact and wants their work to be seen and wants to be known for something positive in the world, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting that, and prepare yourself now. Now is the time to get ready. Like you said, now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to, get extremely comfortable with being yourself, because that truly is the thing that's going to support you and through the projections of others. Because, I once had someone tell me that as a 2-5, no one will ever completely understand me. And I actually personally felt that that was a relief, that I could let go of what I'd tried to do my whole life, which was to try to get people to understand me and try to kind of cling on to relationships that weren't working. Whereas when I just let go of it, I'm like, I know who I am. I understand myself. And other people get to experience me in different ways, and that's okay. And if they misunderstand me, that's okay. Because my opinion of myself is what matters. Yeah, that's it.
Mic drop. Full circle.
Mic drop. That's the clip. So before we close, is there any advice that is kind of burning in you that you would want to give to anyone who's a 2 or a 5 or a 2-5 that you just feel like, I wish someone had told me this back at the beginning? Is there anything that comes to mind for you to share?
Yeah. And I think it really riffs off of what you're saying there, where honestly, if anyone's listening, even not a 2-5, like it goes into, but like emphasizing specifically for, like it's like take a double dose of this medicine if you are a 2, a 5, or a 2-5. But for all of us, like really taking the time and doing the inner work to know who you are, like deep at the core. So that way, at the end of the day, no matter what life happens, when you take a moment and you clear your energy field and you're able to stop and say, I know who I am, and like get really clear of the core values. What are you up to? Finding that support so that way you're able to stay strongly rooted in the truth, capital T truth of who you are this lifetime, because it's just going to make showing up authentically and like staying in your lane of what you're here to do so much easier and graceful, because humans are going to human. But if we
Mhm.
can actually take the time to know ourselves and do the inner work to get comfortable with ourselves and enjoy our own company and allow ourselves to release the chains that we create within our own being, well, then it becomes a lot easier and less burdensome of the external world, because you're at peace with yourself. So you can't be rocked as much by other people in the outside world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. What a beautiful conversation. I feel like we could go on for ages, and I want to have you back on the podcast to talk about more things. I love your perspective on life as a projector, especially. We got to talk more about all of these things, and all of the creative projects that you have on are so inspiring. Everyone go and follow Kelly online. So tell us, how do we find you? How do we stay in touch? And then also, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to share?
Sure. The easiest way is on Instagram of I am Kelly Keefe. And through there, you can find your way to the various things. Follow, DM me, let me know. Like, I love humans. Feel free to say hello and connect directly. And, I'm a loquacious human, so I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, we have open enrollment right now for the next round of permission granted. So this is an 8-week transformational container that we run twice a year, that we go deep into getting clear of who we are, what is it that we truly want from a soul level, and we start to do the subconscious rewiring. So we align ourselves to the timeline and the expression that's in alignment with that person. It's such a game changer. Like honestly, every time we do it, I'm blown away. Where I'm just like, holy shit, this thing's powerful. So it's not me, right? Again, it's not me doing it. It's something moving through and us having it move through. So we have open enrollment for that now. We're in pre-sale, then there'll be early bird. So as people are listening to this, there's an opportunity to, say, give yourself the yes, and also save money while also investing in yourself. We'll be beginning at the in August.
In August. Oh,
Yeah,
amazing. Oh, that sounds like an incredible program. So
so good.
absolutely check Kelly's information out. We'll put everything in the show notes and all that good stuff. And thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I love hearing about the true lived experience of people, through the lens of their human design. I just think it's so inspiring, so interesting, and everyone learns a little something new. So thank
So
you.
good. Thank you for such a juicy conversation and knowing this craft so well that, we can have a more intricate conversation on it. So good.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time on the podcast.